We are back with more Hearthstone Grandmasters America's action. Coming up next, we have Gallon going up against Zalae, and I think we have all of those tech issues resolved. And we're coming up next, we're going to see that game number 1. Then after this series, we're going to have a final one between Monsanto and the winner of this. If Gallon wins, it'll be a rematch from previously today, and if Zalae wins, we'll get a unique matchup in all 5 series, which is always fun to see.
And doesn't happen that often.
Doesn't happen that often, but at the same time, you know, I'm not going to write off Zalae here. He did come in as the #1 Swiss performer. Also looking stellar. Perhaps it is the 2 players who are the best dressed today that will advance to the bracket. One could hope, TJ. I wish that would directly correlate with success, how well you dress.
It has, on average, a positive effect, I would assume. But maybe not in Hearthstone. Only time will tell. Ooh, we got a 1 drop, Dan.
We do. And that's big.
We also
Not
love
as big as a Siamat on your screen, but big.
There we go.
Wild Growth is an opportunity off the Zephyr, seems pretty strong. Wild Growth is offered alongside the Brightwing, and usually a 0-mana spell. Inner Rage is particularly
so confused because it always offers Animal Companion, Brightwing, and Wild Growth. Always. I've never seen it offer Inner Rage in this spot.
Inner Rage is so straight. I've seen it offer Powered Shield in these kinds of positions. Wait! Zephyrus knows! He knows that you need to have that Inner Rage in case you don't have this Vendetta. Some real, that's some real next level plays from Zephyrus, what he offers you.
Yeah, that's quite interesting if you ask me.
Seriously, though.
Okay, starting to get to awkward territory for Zalae. He's taking a little bit of a beating, but you can tell that he really doesn't want to part ways with this coin. Because he wants to hit those powerful plays. Yep.
Woof. This Bone Wraith being drawn is so good for Gallon.
Oh, yeah, just keep hitting him. Yep. Gallon sees the lines.
Yeah, he sees the lines indeed.
It's just a good old-fashioned game of play your minions on curve.
Yep, I play my minions, you play your minions, and we'll see whose minions outplay the other minions.
Right now, it
Dirty Tricks. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, it does look like Gallon's minions are winning this battle, but it will be short-lived as Reno, the Relicologist, will be hitting the board on the following turn.
Right, which is why I was saying that Dirty Trick seems particularly useful against a play when you anticipate the coin. And I think maybe Gallon might trade into this to preemptively play around things like the Reno. Could just use his dagger hit as a way to hedge. So normally you would want to like trade, if you didn't have access to this dagger from the rogue, you would probably use the Zephyrs to trade into it because it's really lines up really nicely. A 3-2 into a 4-3. It just feels good to you. That's when you fist pump the air in your suit and tie and mop haircut as you advance to the top floor. But in this case, Gallon could also just use the dagger in case Zalae does not have the Reno. Zalae looking kind of menacing, as if he's expecting the quarterly reports on his desk by Monday.
It's very intimidating.
I know.
I can't look at his camera for too long. I have to kind of cover it. I need to go
total power move.
Cover the top left here.
What the heck? I'm so intimidated.
It's his
right
turn,
now.
and he's not even touching his mouse.
I know.
That's how menacing it is. All right, there we go.
He needs to install the no hands gamer technology where you just use your eyes to play Hearthstone.
Yeah, so he can just keep his arms folded literally the entire time he plays.
Yep. Zalae with the rolling fireball, so he doesn't have to use his Reno the Relicologist yet, and he can save the coin for a later turn. Gallon introduced with some choices actually for the first time this game. Before it felt like he was relatively on a linear path, and now he actually can go in a couple different directions here.
Is there a reasonable way for him to play around Reno the Relicologist? It doesn't look like it. Siamat dies to it if he goes Escape Mana Saber, Evil Miscreant. It's exactly 10 health. I think you probably want to go with some type of middle ground like the Blackjack Stunner plus Evil Miscreant.
I wonder.
I think the Mana Saber and the Miscreant are still better because Siamat plus Lackey might be a good response to Reno the Relicologist.
Yeah, well, that would also be the case if you played Blackjack Stunner plus Evil Miscreant.
True.
And you would have an Escaped Mana Saber instead of a Blackjack Stunner in hand.
Also true.
Assuming that you have a good read that Reno is there. But if Reno is not there, then obviously this plays much better. But oh.
Yeah, it's really good for the following turns. Siamat with the Rush and Divine Shield cleans up this Reno very nicely. And then can use a Lackey with it. So in this case, Draconic Lackey. What?
Yeah, he's playing a Highlander deck.
What on earth? That's right. Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. There's only one of them in the deck, and your deck and the card text reads, if your deck has no duplicates. Technically, there's only one Alexstrasza in the deck, so Gallon should have that free activation.
Dan, I just realized. Highlander Rogue beats every deck that Zalae has.
Yeah, Zalae.
Hmm.
How does he answer this?
Well, I mean, he could go coin Deep Freeze into Power of Creation.
Might be better the other way, coin Power Creation into Deep Freeze, but at the same time, you are staring at 8 damage on the board, and you're at 16 life. Doesn't feel good, so yeah, it probably is a Deep Freeze.
There's also merit to trying to Arcane Intellect into almost exactly Ray of Frost and trying to go for a Reno, an early Reno.
Life and hope.
Uh-oh, Zalae's like, ugh, he wins before that he knew that even happened.
Oh, wait! He doesn't want to play Nose Dormu because he's going to give the opportunity for the amazing Reno to come out. You should play the other Nose Dormu, not Nose Dormu that came out from the most recent expansion before Ashes of Outland.
So many options.
The OG Nose Dormu.
Just in time.
Time runs out on me.
Looks like Zalae is going to try and hold on to the Blizzard as long as he can. He can still put this Bone Wraith in the way. Freeze the 2 big minions.
Yep, and then roll Blizzard next turn into the amazing Reno. But
What on earth?
I don't think Gallon even wants to extend that much further onto this board.
He doesn't need to.
Just wants to push some damage. I agree.
Wow, that is indeed quite wild here because Zalae, even though he has the layers of the Reno, or sorry, the layers of removal through Blizzard and Reno, Gallon's got another Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. I will say though that when Nostromo hits the board and it stays alive on as long as it has so far, the game gets pretty exciting.
Yeah, I know. I feel like this would be difficult to cast for long periods at a time, especially on difficult turns, and the amount of stupid things we say would increase exponentially because we wouldn't have time to vet ourselves. But it'd be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool, and also I don't know if there's even a need for 2 casters at that point. You just have 1 caster, because that's the amount of time that you have.
Or
to
better yet,
build
Dan,
the airspace.
3 casters.
Oh yeah.
All of
Now
the
you're
cards in his
thinking.
hand cost 0. This is.
Life and hope of will.
Ay.
Jeez.
Well, those aren't quite as good. I will say that.
We are friends now. Hello, friend.
Waxadred is good. And now that he's at 10 mana crystals.
Yep. And it's never truly over till it's over with the amazing Reno, and also there's still the chance of Zalae pulling a puzzle box out of his deck. How much damage is this? Kronks is 5, Cinder Strike is 3, attack is 1, so that would be 9 damage.
Nice.
Got it.
Good shot.
Okay. Malagos into a Frost Nova.
Yeah, but then how do you win?
Oh, puzzle box.
Yeah, I guess.
Gee, you don't sound like a believer in the puzzle box.
Well, if he had in his hand, I'd believe it more. But right now, he doesn't even have it in his hand. Well, he could Boom Pistol Bully to cut off Kronks. No, he'd be dead. So he has to go for Frostbolt one of these, and then Conjur's Calling the Malagos. Oh!
Okay, that top minion helps.
Thought I had more time.
Unfortunately, not enough.
It's not enough at all. We do have the Kronks to give everything +2/+2, or just to add the 5 damage. Not going to really matter however way you slice it. Gallon gonna get game number 1 with Highlander Rogue, shutting down this Highlander Mage. Now you mentioned that Zalae might not have an answer to Highlander Rogue. Is that really the case?
It seems that way. He's got Priest, which also, I think Priest is honestly the best matchup for Rogue.
Right. And then he's got his own Rogue.
No, he has Demon Hunter.
Oh, Rogue was banned. He has his Demon Hunter.
Which actually has been going the way of Rogue a good amount, even over the last couple weeks. Even pre-nerf was like close to 50-50. But this week it's even further, or it's Rogue favorite. Last week it was slightly Demon Hunter favorite, I believe. So I feel like Demon Hunter's the best bet against the Rogue. If he could shut down the Rogue with the Demon Hunter, then his Priest is lined up nicely for Zoo Warlock and Warrior. But if he loses with Demon Hunter, then could be a bad day for Zalae.
Got it. Yeah, it would be a bad spot because he has to reverse sweep, and that's never a good spot to be in. Particularly, just because your opponent, if they have a balanced lineup, will be able to pick the correct matchups into you. But, we've seen some crazy comebacks before, and we also saw Language Hacker be able to reverse sweep, so it's not impossible. It's just that it's harder in Last Hero Standing compared to Conquest.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think we just got word that Zalae queued his banned class.
Oh, no.
In this game, and I just heard from my game sounds that there was a Valyria conceding. So, since this is game 2, I believe the initial ruling is a warning unless he's had a previous warning already.
Okay.
In which case it's a game loss. So,
Okay.
or so, I don't know if
Let's
that's the
hope
case for
it's
broadcast.
just a warning because that really shouldn't be an issue, and that's obviously a brain fart from Zalae. But at the same time, it's like, come on, that's the deck that you gotta be a little bit more tuned into that. So hopefully we avoid another silly mistake like that. That obviously has no bearing on whether or not you're a good or bad player, just more like whether or not you're present-minded, if you will.
Yeah.
But in the larger picture, perhaps Zalae could be, not exactly the most focused on stuff because he's taken 4 losses in a row, and I know Zalae's taken worse bad beats in his career before. I've seen him experience really unfortunate luck before. But confidence is a real factor sometimes, where you're just like, I can't win a game today. Today's not my day, and so you gotta be able to stay focused the entire time.
Yep. To be fair, the rogue icon does look very similar to the Demon Hunter icon.
Yes, they're both dagger
Yeah.
looking short blades with some green hue.
Yeah, I think it should just be requeue the next game because there's not even any advantage that could be gained from queuing the wrong class because it's last year standing.
Right.
He just lost. He knows exactly what Gallon's going to be playing,
Right.
and Gallon would know exactly what he was playing if he queued the next one. So.
All right. So with that, if Zalae is not able to play the rogue, he could play the Demon Hunter, and we'll see if that Demon Hunter will be able to stop him. Demon Hunter, still, I believe, the number 1 class in win rate this weekend, clocking in just a cut about 57%, which is huge. Most of the wins seem to be against Priest, but against Rogue, like you said, it seems like Demon Hunter's been struggling. One of the few matchups it's actually been losing.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. I didn't expect that to be the deck that it would be losing to, but Rogue is quite scrappy. But actually, it does look like Zalae will be getting a game loss. But he does get to choose which class he loses with. So he effectively does have a game loss, but he gets to choose which deck is eliminated. I would imagine he would choose Priest.
That is really rough. Wow. Oh my goodness, that stinks.
Yeah.
I feel really bad now for him.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Well, Demon Hunter can still beat anything.
Demon Hunter can still beat anything. Yep.
Well, we're feeling a reverse sweep here for Zalae with Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
That's just not the way you want to go out. If you lose this game at number 3 and consequently your effective 6th game for today, I think that just would leave a sour taste in all of our mouths, not just Zalae.
Yeah. Especially after he got so dressed up for us. I feel like we've let him down. We as a community.
Oh, okay.
We as the Hearthstone community have not shown him enough support, and because of that, his mind was elsewhere, and he queued the wrong deck.
Right. We could have stopped this, TJ.
We could have stopped this. Us collectively.
You could have stopped this.
You as a broad term, not me specifically.
Right.
Is what you mean, right? You. One could have stopped this.
Yes. Yes, the plural you. Anyways, coming up after this series, by the way, like we said, the winner will be playing against Monsanto. And I'm sure Gallon would be itching for a chance to get a rematch. And if you're wondering what we're playing for today, in case people who are tuning in halfway, we're playing for a chance to play in the top 4 on Sunday, where they will get points for their Swiss standings. And the Swiss standings will have implications for the round-robin group stages from weeks 4 to 7. And then weeks number 8 will be playoffs. And this was applied to every single region. After the weekend finishes, if you're able to get 6 points, for winning a Swiss tournament, you essentially will be guaranteed not to be in the lower division. And the reason why that's important is because the lower division is an auto relegation spot twice over for 7th and 8th. So yeah, really, really important that you're able to get that advantage. And alternatively, going into the upper division means that you have a very high chance of going to playoffs because 6 out of 8 make it. So yeah, I think both players really want to increase their odds because the alternative is so much worse than being in the upper division.
Yeah, it really is. And keep in mind that the higher seeded you're up in relegation, also the less likely it is that you get relegated. It's a tiered bracket, which means that relegation seed 1 plays against relegation seed 2. The loser of that match plays against relegation seed 3. The loser of that match plays against relegation seed 4, and then the loser of that match is relegated. So the higher if you're seed 1, you literally have to lose 3 matches in a row to get relegated, and if you're seed 4, it's a lose and you're out situation. That's the breakdown. So you really wanted to be in Division A, because even if you do finish at the bottom of the Division A, you still have multiple chances to make it back into Grandmasters, I guess, if you consider them. They're all out of Grandmasters until they earn their way back in by winning.
Yeah, these are the current standings. So if we were to end it this very moment not even this very moment, because we got points distributed based off the Swiss leading up to today. But had we have the cutoff the day before today, we would have actually have exactly those standings. So just to give you a visual on what it looks like, Gallon would be leading Division B. Looks like, speaking of Gallon, by the way, looks like there's a little bit of a dispute. We're trying to figure out whether or not we can get ready to go into the next game, if whether or not we can find some wiggle room within the rule set to potentially allow a regame. Because I think, again, as we said, no one really wants to take the victory this way. Nobody wants to hand Zalae the loss in that fashion. Ultimately, I'm sure Zalae would assume responsibility. It is his. It's up to him to make sure he keeps the right class. But yes, we are, as a result, delayed because of it.
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about, Dan?
We can talk about some of your favorite games and matches so far from the other regions, or even some of the content that you've done with the Grandmasters. What's been some highlights for you recently in Europe and Asia Pacific?
Zoo Warlock, Dan. I just like how Fel Kane has just keeps bringing Zoo Warlock and keeps making top 8. That's my highlights. That's all. Nothing really else. I've been just specifically Fel Kane and Zoo Warlock. That's it.
Okay, I think I'm missing the meme here, but feel free.
There's not a meme. That's just a genuine answer. I couldn't think of anything else.
Okay. I've been very pleasantly surprised by how consistent certain players have been. You mentioned Fel Kane being one of them. It's great to see him in top 8 multiple times. I'm also impressed that Tice has been able to make top 8 both times as well. Alongside Hunter Ace. So, even though Boar and Silver got the top 2 last week, they aren't in this week. So Hunter Ace, being one of the most consistent players of all time in Hearthstone, great to see him back in the mix and, back-to-back weeks of top 8. And Tice still just kind of showing that even though he is a streamer right now as probably his primary thing, but he still has a very strong competitive background. And he can still hang, if not compete with the very, very best. Mm-hmm. Europe is the hardest server agreed upon by most players. And I would say that him being competitive has been a great sign that he is still very much an elite caliber player.
Yeah. Dan, that was a much, much better answer than mine.
Yeah. The second thing is... The second thing is it's just cool to see Surrender still doing really well. seems like Surrender is pretty much separating himself from the rest of the pack in Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
Rivius did get the win last week, but Rivius is not in the top 8 for week number 2, so Surrender will climb ahead of him in points, guaranteed. And we've always kind of pegged Surrender as also one of the best players in Asia Pacific, and for him to show separation from the pack there is also a really cool thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't quite answer your question of highlights from Europe or Asia Pacific, but America's has Bloody Face. I mean, he's 12-2 in Swiss over the first 2 weeks. That's pretty good. And even if you factor in his win-loss total from Swiss plus the top 8 last week, he is 15-3.
Yeah.
So that's a very good record thus far in Grandmasters, and we'll see him play tomorrow. See if he can improve on that.
Yep, and the last thing is, a couple of other players who are standing out so far as well. Staz made it to 2 top 8s. He'll play tomorrow for Asia Pacific, or AK in a few hours, when they finally find the resolution of this dispute. And then they'll have Glory also in the top 4. Glory made top 8 last week, but he didn't get out of groups, and now he did this week. So a couple of consistent players, which is what you want to see week to week for some of these players. And I'm looking forward to it. Asia Pacific has also. It's also nice to hear Gia back on the mic, just as a side thing, because I know that she ran into some visa issues. And while this global pandemic situation is awful for everybody involved, one of the silver linings is that Gia gets to work with us again as a talent, because before it really wasn't going to be the case this year if that ended up shaking out. So a nice, again, silver lining to the situation that's pretty awful. I would say that it's cool to have the team back together again, casting some Hearthstone.
The team back together once again. Not
any
quite
update for us, TJ? Seems
full
like
team.
you're kind of tuned in on the situation here.
No, I was just trying to figure out what was happening. It seemed like things were escalated to an admin, and then Zalae ended up just taking a loss with his priests, and we're moving on for the sake of the broadcast. So Zalae took his loss with the priest, which means he's now down 2-0. So is in a position where he has to reverse sweep with his Demon Hunter.
Well, you hate to see it, and it is what it is. So if you're watching on VOD, or perhaps you're tuning in just now and you're wondering what happened to Game 2, Zalae queued the wrong deck, and he was awarded a game loss. We did explore the rule set and see if there was an opportunity to appeal, and there was not. So looks like we're going to go into game number 3, and we'll see if Gallon can finish up this sweep 3-0 up against Demon Hunter, a class that Rogue has been increasingly doing better against with each passing day since the expansion.
Yeah. Seems like that's kind of always the case.
The fires of vengeance burn bright.
Rogue just gets more refined. Just keeps on trucking along.
Rogue just finds a way. Always.
Well,
it feels like no matter what expansion it is, there seems to be Rogue decks that always find a way to be competitive, even in Rogue's darkest times.
Yeah, I mean the core is always there, right? Or will be there for quite some time. With, Eviscerate, Backstab, Edwin, SI7 Agent.
The fires of
That's just how it is. All right, Zalae going to match the 1-drop from Gallon with a couple of 1-drops of his own. Does have some pretty good stuff in hand, but it's a little bit slow. He's got the Satyr Overseer in combination with Warglaze of Azzinoth, which can develop a pretty large board from nothing. And Gallon doesn't have much going on for him right now. He doesn't even have a play that he can make until turn 4, so it looks like he's just resigned to taking 6 from this Blazing Battle Mage just to get off the board and not take potentially more in the future.
Oh, interesting. Zalae has Skull of Gul'dan, Satyr Overseer, and the Crimson Sigil Runner. Looks like he went for the Sigil Runner.
Ooh, ambush is at least something that he can use to get on the board with.
Yeah, it's a playable card, which is...
It's a playable card, that is true.
better than what he was working with before.
Yeah.
They will never catch me.
Yep.
You fell right.
Now Zalae will see that ambush activated and
That's
Can't-
unfortunate.
can take it out. Oh, wow. And he finds another Warglaze of Azeroth. Things are just not really lining up well.
I see.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he cashes in for this, but this is an expensive hand in a situation where it's very difficult to deal with having an expensive hand, especially since Gallon's start was quite slow.
Gallon's hand was very slow and still kind of is, although it's speeding up with each passing draw. I'm not sure if he wants to go with the Escape Mana Saber or the Bone Wraith this turn. Bone Wraith does get the taunts in the way. The Mana Saber does leave him with more options as time goes on. And now Zalae, if he wants to use the Cedar Overseer, has to attack into that taunt, which is great. I think that's ultimately the reason why. You want to protect the poisonous minions. Playing the Mana Saber means that the ambush poison minion that you set up will just die.
So Escape Mana Saber would mean he would have access to 7 mana next turn. Or he could go for a 4/4 Edwin Van Cleef and just go wide on board. Yeah, I think Escape Mana Saber every time. And trade over the 2/2 just so it lines up better against this Sightless Watcher. So there can't be like Sightless Watcher Hero Power trade over, that kind of thing. But one thing Zalae has going for him is these additional charges of the Warglaze of Azeroth will allow him to come back from a board position that he's behind and actually start pushing some damage. Gallon's all the way down to 15 life, and there's still a lot of swings of weapons left. Oh, well, there's a Zephyrus. That could make things quite interesting. But what would you even want in this situation? Sightless Watcher is a demon, but obviously with the sacrificial pack changes, you can't go for that, which would have been a fantastic choice for in last week.
You could go for an Ooze here and then attack with a Mana Saber and play Van Cleef as a 6/6.
Yeah, that's actually quite a good point. Would it give you Ooze, though, with 4 mana remaining?
If you attack first and play Zephyrs, it might give you Harrison Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants Backstab, right?
How about an Earth Elemental?
Okay.
Choose soon.
No, seriously, like,
Yeah.
that's actually
'cause-
really good. It activates Vendetta, so he can still trade,
Right.
and then it starts blocking damage starting on next turn.
Right,
he still
right.
gets out a big Edwin Van Cleef, and then next turn, he can kind of lock things up. So right now, he's just hoping that he's not going to take a significant amount of damage, and he's not, because Zalae has literally 0 extra damage from hand, unless, you count Warglaze of Azeroth re-equipping after you, attack into Zephyrus as extra damage. This is not looking good for Zalae. We might be looking at a very unfortunate 3-0 again against Zalae. And it's a shame because Zalae was the best performer in the Swiss rounds. He came in as the #1 seed, or a #2 seed. He was tied with Bloodyface at 6-1 record. He was the only last undefeated player left going into round 7 and only lost in round 7. So obviously his lineup is working against the field. It's just today, 3-0, bad beats in his first matchup, and now with his missed deck, or his wrong deck queue, and kind of just getting beat up. Oh my goodness gracious.
What?
Holy.
Oh, I think this is Zalae kind of conceding. And he says, I can't win this game, so...
Yep.
Good job, Gallon, and that'll do it. Zalae always finds a way to get lethal. And that's going to do it. So, Gallon 3-0 over Zalae. A bittersweet victory to say the least, but I'm sure if you're Gallon, even though the victory doesn't feel great to take it that way, a win's a win. He's going to move on to play Monsanto. And as you mentioned before, it seemed like Zalae was in a bad spot anyways, because Priest versus Rogue is really tough. So even if he had a chance to go up against that Rogue with his Priest, he would have struggled with that. If he lost, he would have played Demon Hunter. So if you were to take the average statistics, Gallon was overwhelmingly favored in that spot, but still not a great feeling.
No, just a disappointing overall ending to that. And I think Gallon also is not happy about the way that one turned out. He would obviously have liked to see a regame and win fair and square, and not have to rely on these rules to sneak wins in. So I know that he's disappointed, especially since Zalae is a good friend of his. And that's why you can see the smile from Zalae and the weapon attacks for lethal that he gave at the end. At least he had good spirits about it, but just disappointing finish overall. But got to move on, and Gallon's the one that moves on to face Monsanto in the final match of the day.
That's right. So with that, I believe we're going to get ready for our final match of the day. And so we're going to take a break here. And then when we come back, we're going to have the last series of the day here for week 2, day number 1. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com.